The 15 most notorious female gangsters in history. We always tend to hear a lot about male gangsters, ruthless men with a thirst for violence and criminal activities. Guys in sharp suits and dripping in gold who have a crew of lots of muscle behind them, accumulating their wealth by living in the all in their luxury mansions. That's the stereotypical image of a gangster, and it actually holds true for a lot of them. Women, well, we don't really get to hear about them, they're not really thought about in the same way. You see a woman being arrested, brought into a courtroom, being accused of heinous acts, and all she needs to do is flutter her eyes and people will sympathize. People won't think she's capable of such crimes. Okay, so that won't really happen, but subconsciously, for a lot of people anyway, that might be the case. There's actually a pretty simple reason as to why we mostly hear about male gangsters, crime bosses, and their criminal activities. That's because most gangsters are men. The crime world's often perceived to be a macho boys' club, and if women are involved, they're only there to do the donkey work. Well, that's not really the case anymore. Over the years, there have been some seriously tough, violent, vindictive women who've been involved in some truly heinous crimes. The 15 on this list are all gangsters, and at one time or another, gained seriously nasty reputations due to the crimes they committed. These are 15 of the most notorious female gangsters in history. 1. Pearl Elliott, Madam of Kokomo. Back in the 1920s and 30s, Pearl Elliott, the Madam of Kokomo, was very well known to authorities. She was always getting into trouble and always getting arrested for this and that, but things came to a head when in 1933, she made the Chicago Police Department's public enemies list, one of only 2 women on the list. Why? It was discovered that she was in control of a brothel in Indiana, a brothel which she ran for over a decade. She was also involved in various other criminal activities and was associated with other notorious gangsters of that time. She was in tight with bank robber Harry Pierpont, and was involved in the criminal activities of the Dillinger gang, for whom she was a treasurer and fixer. She did various other things for the Notorious gang too, and this meant that she was one of the most prominent female gangsters of her time. 2. Marlowe Chacon Russell, Queen of the South. Marlowe had one fierce reputation. She was once one of the most powerful people in the world of Latin gangs, and exerted her control over Central America, where she was in control of a drug trafficking ring, and money laundering, but on an epic scale. The main way her and her gang earned their money was by smuggling tons of drugs into the States from Guatemala. But money laundering is what she was really good at, until she was caught, of course. She was laundering millions, cash earned from dodgy deals and transactions, and so she needed a front for it all. Marlowe started her own privately run lottery. But it didn't take long before the United States Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control started poking their noses into her business, and they discovered plenty of dodgy goings-on. The Guatemalan socialite and businesswoman's world soon came crashing down. 3. Anadina Arellano Felix, first and only female drug lord. Here's another Mexican gangster, someone actually deemed to be the first and only female drug lord. That's a pretty far cry from life as an accountant, which is the life Anadina was living. But she ditched her studies in 2008, taking over the gang's criminal activities which were once led by her brothers. They had been apprehended, some had been killed, so Anadina saw it as her duty to take over the family business. She used her business-minded approach to run things, looked after the finances, and made lucrative deals with other gangs. The contacts she established is what kept her family, and her gang, afloat during the tough times of unrest. Other than Sandra Avila Beltran, Anadina is thought to be one of only a few women to lead such a prominent crime organization, but her business-like vision set her apart. She's now behind bar though, and her sister is thought to have taken over the Tijuana cartel. 4. Maria Licciardi rising through the ranks. Here's another mafia godmother, someone who ran her operations in Naples before being captured in 2001. Maria was a small, diminutive woman, but she still had some serious presence about her. That's why, when her 2 brothers and husband were arrested, she became the head of the Licciardi clan. When her brother died, the criminal underworld became a very dangerous place, more so than it already was of course, and many attempted to seize control. But Maria stabilized the situation and ensured the Licciardi family were still at the top. What did they do? Basically, they ran many lucrative rackets, including drugs and prostitution. After retaliation killings, the authorities began to investigate Maria. She became one of the 30 most wanted Italians and is now incarcerated, although it's still thought that she runs things from behind bars. Apparently, prison isn't a barrier for Maria or her clan, who still want her in charge. 5. Claudia Ochoa Felix Kim Kardashian of crime. Okay, so these are mostly rumors that are yet to be substantiated, but they still make Claudia a worthy entrant on this list. Check out Claudia's Instagram page. Yes, she does have an Instagram profile, and at first glance you'd probably think that she's a socialite of some sort. She's basically known for her strong social media presence, and for her similarity looks-wise to the queen of social media herself, Kim Kardashian. Like Kim K, Claudia leads a flashy life. She often posts pics of herself in luxurious locations, in fancy cars, on yachts, and with weapons. Yes, weapons. Strange things for a classy, elegant woman to get her hands on. Perhaps that's because she's head of a Mexican gang called Los Antrax. I say perhaps, because these are just rumors that have been gathering momentum over recent years. There are currently no investigations into Claudia and her activities that we know about, but if the rumors hold true, it'd make Claudia one of the deadliest women on the planet. 6. Melissa Caldron, one bloodthirsty woman. Mexican gangland violence is seriously brutal. To stay true to their own, to protect what's theirs, to get what they want, or just for the hell of it, gangs will kill, and will think nothing of killing those associated with you too. They often do so in brutal fashion, and will continue killing unless they get what they want. Mexican gangs as a collective group are known for carrying out their activities in this kind of fashion. But even amidst all the gangland violence, one name stands out for being the most violent of them all: Melissa Caldron. She's one fierce woman, someone who's been responsible for at least 150 murders in Mexico. She has 4 titles: a drug trafficker, assassin, an enforcer for the Sinaloa cartel crime syndicate, and she heads her own gang too. Melissa was a busy woman juggling a lot, before she was relieved of her activities after being arrested in 2015. 7. Maria Leon spun her web across L.A. Maria Chata Leon is another woman who had a massive piece of the L.A. criminal underworld pie. Her criminal empire included running a drug trafficking ring, and she was also heavily involved in human trafficking. Maria had ties to the Mexican mafia, and using these ties, she had wide-ranging operations and basically terrorized Northeast Los Angeles for 2 decades. But it was the gangland killings that made police investigate her further. This violence, for which she and her gang were responsible for, made L.A. at the time resemble a battleground. Amazingly, she headed these operations while being a mom to no less than 13 children. Once she started to feel the heat, Maria fled to her homeland of Mexico, but when one of her kids died, she returned to the U.S. for the funeral. It was then that she was captured, arrested, and she's now behind bars, her home for a very long time. 8. Rosetta Catullo, head of an Italian crime syndicate. Rosetta Catullo was a mafia godmother who led the Italian Nuova Camorra Organizzata, NCO, crime syndicate. Many have testified that without Rosetta, the NCO would have dissolved when its leader, her brother, went behind bars. Raffaele Catullo still ran things from prison, but it was Rosetta who was always in his ear, who executed his orders and kept everything ticking from the outside. Who'd have thought that Rosetta, a simple woman who lived with her mom and enjoyed tending roses, would become such a feared gangster? Not many, but it was her closeness to her brother that got her involved in his way of life. One thing that Rosetta was known for was numbers. She was brilliant at negotiating deals. But one went sour, and the police were on her tail. She managed to escape, living in safe houses for over a decade, before giving herself up, saying, "I am tired of being a fugitive." Rosetta's always maintained her innocence.